Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the Eggnog Podcast. I'm supposed to say.
Alright, do it again. You can cut this shit out.
I was like, you can still jump in. It's only 1 second. Well, there's our blooper for the intro.
Alright, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us this Wednesday afternoon for another episode of the Tea Time Podcast, Christmas Special, Eggnog Edition.
Join us by the fireplace for some hottie toddies and drinks for today's topic and a special guest of ours. I'd like to welcome an old friend and classmate of ours, Eric.
Hello everyone.
What's going on, man? How you doing, Eric?
Doing good. How are you guys doing today?
What up, Eric?
Oh, just hanging out.
Hey.
You know, enjoying the warmth of the fire.
Right.
You know, it's the fire social distancing. You know, it's still COVID time. So.
Gotta stay 6 feet away, right?
Yeah, you gotta stay 6 feet away. So.
Also warm. You gotta stay warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay toasty.
These Chicago suburb winters can get kind of brutal, and I think you said it even earlier when we were chatting. They're just unpredictable, and you never know what it's gonna be like outside. So.
Literally, I mean, last year we had negative 50 weather.
Yeah. Or you'll look outside and it's like nice and sunny, and you're like, oh, maybe I should wear my swimsuit today. You go out and you're like, ooh, you know, like I'm gonna be a snowman in 5 minutes.
Literally.
Man, I remember the polar vortex. That was that was a whole situation.
Literally.
I'm so glad that this year, like, we were kind of not experiencing hardcore winter, like, tap on wood, like this is glass, but nonetheless, you know, this winter so far hasn't been too bad.
Right.
I imagine, you know, winter in Illinois is, you know, worse in January and February.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
It's usually when we get all of our snow too. Like, it's usually just cold from like November to December, and then snow comes in January, February.
Yeah. So, but you know, we're here, warm and alive.
Thanks for joining us today, man.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
We're excited to have you, man.
Thank you.
It's a fun time. Good catching up again and stuff, especially after high school.
Right.
So many years went by. So
yeah. So today, you know, before we get started and jump into our topic a little bit, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Eric. Like, you know, what do you do? Where are you at in your life? How old you are? You know, a little something about yourself. What you think?
So I'm 25. I'm currently just working. I have 2 jobs right now. I'm just trying to get by. Went to high school with you guys, Stewart High School. Great times. After that, went to ECC for 2 years. After that, I mean, just there kind of working and just trying to get my life together, basically.
I feel that, aren't we all trying to get our fucking life together?
Literally.
How are you handling COVID right now? Like, I mean, during this whole time, there's so much just going on.
Right. There's just like, so it's really different times right now. I'm handling it pretty well. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we can't really do anything about COVID right now. Because, I mean, the vaccine's out now, but I mean. Yeah,
I mean, the trials are...
Yeah, the trials are starting.
The trials now, you know, the first rounds of things, I don't know if...
I think people have started even getting vaccinated already.
Yeah, I've been seeing on Reddit that, like, the first nurse in New York just got her first vaccine, and then another lady in the UK just got her first vaccine. She was the first one to actually get vaccine in the whole world. Mm-hmm. So I know it's starting to come out. So hopefully everyone gets the vaccine, and hopefully everyone's staying safe and staying healthy, and hopefully everyone gets to live a prosperous life.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well, that being said, you know, with these trying times, it kind of makes me think of, you know, the period of time that we were in before COVID in general. You know what I'm saying? Do you remember what you were doing before COVID? Like.
Yeah, I was honestly hanging out with my friends, going out to eat places, just having a good time. Honestly, driving around, just living life. Honestly, it was nice being able to actually like talk to people without having a mask on and like without having like all these restrictions going on. It was nice, but then the trying times hit.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, like I remember in March. Okay, I was working. It was still the new year. I was still bright and joyful that, 2020 was going to be my year,
Yeah.
But then we went from that period to like a whole level of panic and kind of worry, for the rest of the world.
It was spooky. At one point I was like, wow, are we really entering like one of those like Hollywood movies where it's literally like the movie Contagion. I remember I went to the grocery store one day and everyone's wearing masks, social distancing, you're wiping down carts, a lot of things are missing on the shelves, and I was just like what am I supposed to do? Like are we on the verge of like is civilization on the verge of just dying and going kaput? It was it was crazy. It's been crazy. It's wild.
I think about the apex of like the panic where everybody took all the toilet paper.
Oh my God. And then tried to return it.
Or try to sell it. Like, really?
People were selling toilet paper for like trying to sell like I think it was like 30, 40 like on top of whatever it was actually originally priced.
Yeah.
And like people were actually still buying it. I'm like, dude, literally just wait until they restock. I mean, you have to have at least have enough to like last you for at least a couple more weeks.
Seriously.
They'll restock by then. But like it was crazy watching everybody just like storm the stores and just trying to buy everything that they can. Frozen vegetables, frozen food, frozen everything.
Supply and demand is a real thing.
Supply and demand is a very real thing.
So everything to be said, today's topic is about, two things. It's about one, transitioning from one period of life to another period of life. And, how that kind of addresses your character, like who you are as, the gender that you are at the moment, a male, a man, What does that mean to you, being a man, changing from one period of life to the next?
Or like, when did you and we become men? Like, when do we recognize when that transition happens?
Yeah. So let me start it off, right?
Right.
Let me touch on that a little bit. Do you ever remember a moment in your life where you went through, maybe not like a hard period, but like a harder period in your life where, you had to deal with something, and then, you had a mentality change or a physical change of yourself, an emotional change, but nonetheless you had to transition from being the past you to the next you?
Yeah, so when my transition really happened was when honestly it was when my dad kind of just like left me and my mom, and like he did his own thing, but basically when that happened, it was just literally just me and my mom, and we didn't really have much to really work off of, because long story short, he basically used up everything and left. And so since then, me and my mom have been rebuilding and just trying to rebuild our lives and just trying to get past things. And so in that time, I feel like that's when I really transitioned and like moved on to really where I am now, and myself, my maturity, everything just kind of like went up. And so like that's where I feel like I kind of like really transitioned and moved on and became who I am today.
So, I mean, before we touch a little bit further on that, disclaimer, you don't have to share certain things if you don't need to,
right,
or want to. But in that moment that, that situation had happened, how did your mentality change? What changed? Were you, did you get more vigor to do better for yourself and your mother? Or was it more like, you had to go through some type of grieving stage, and then that's when, that mentality change where I have to do better for my family in general happened? Describe that a little bit for us.
So I'll be honest, at first I grieved, and it was just kind of like a lot of just like alone time, just basically trying to think like why, blah blah blah. And like after a while, just kind of like you got tired of asking myself why, and more so ask myself, what can I do now? What can I do to improve? What can I do to like do something for my life, instead of just sitting there just being sad for myself? And that's when I really was like, well, I need to keep moving on with my life. I need to keep doing things with my life and moving on. So since then, I've been kind of just trying, even though it's baby steps, I've been trying to just keep moving forward and do as best as I can.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to hear it, just because, at least in these time periods and in other time periods of your life, most people don't come out of that. You know what I'm saying? They don't come out of that situation because whether or not it's very traumatic, it hurts and you grieve, and I think personally, like, you decide whether or not you continue moving forward or you continue staying in that spot. You know?
Right.
Do you think that after that realization where you're like, okay, what can I do now to move forward, and then you started taking those baby steps, would you say you started feeling more mature, or were you like, okay, now I have to like man up and be the man of the house, and kind of take on that role? Was it more mature or manliness, I guess?
At first, it was I want to say more manly, so I was like, I really have to become like basically the man of the house, and I have to take care of my mom, make sure she's okay, making sure everything else is settled and everything's good. And then as I was doing that, I matured myself as it is, because then you have to take on new roles, new things that you've never really tried to or like have done before, and like I think that like has really matured me throughout the times, and has really made me
The person you are today.
Yeah, basically made me the person that I am today and how I am today. And like the experiences and everything basically just molded me.
Right, okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
What about you, Lucas? I mean, what's a period in time you've kind of transitioned through something? Maybe tough, maybe not tough, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I want to start, I feel like I've always been kind of a mature and level-headed individual. However, the younger I was, the more naive I was, right? And so I feel like I was always responsible, maybe too much so at moments. Some tough times that I went through, I want to say college was definitely, well, high school, no, college was kind of tough for me in the sense that I felt like I had a lot of responsibilities, or just there was a lot going on in my life, in the sense that I was trying to be very involved in school, but at the same time trying to take on heavy majors, heavy studies to better myself academically, and to at the time I wanted to get into med school. Commuting was also stressful, and then working downtown, so I just had like a lot going on all at once. And there would be moments where I think to myself, is anyone else my age going through this? Do I really have to put myself through everything? Because I don't need to be in this position that I am. I don't need all this stress right now. But I'd look at it positively and tell myself, yeah, this sucks. I'm putting myself in this position. I shouldn't be in this position. But at least the positive thing is that I'm growing, being resourceful and responsible, and able to take on all this by myself and manage my time and like a lot of different projects. So I think that definitely helped me grow into the person I am, to be able to kind of just be okay with a lot going on and not let it get to me.
Right. I think I had like a similar experience, at least with school, because
we were doing a lot of the same thing. Same school. We lived close to each other here in the suburbs.
It was same school. For a while I had to commute too. I had to go through like multiple forms of commuting at one point. I remember just sitting on trains and being like, wow, this is like a whole 3 hours of my life, and there's only 24 hours in the day. So at one point I was counting hours to like really try to utilize all of the hours in the day,
because so much of your time was wasted on things that you just couldn't help.
And I think my transition from that period to the next period was more so the acceptance. Kind of like I had to go through, like, I want to say it was, a maturation of when I was in a mentality where I didn't think I could get it done, or I want to say kind of childish almost. But I like you, I've been mature a lot of my life. So, I went through more of a maturation where I thought, I can get this done. And I need to kind of accept it, grieve for like maybe the amount of stress that I've been going through, and then go through it and know that that's not going to be the end,
Yeah, and understand that it makes you a stronger person in the end if you choose to look at it that way and just be positive about it.
Yeah, because I one of the things that I remember the most is coming off the train at night, 12 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock at night. It's snowing, winter. I had a gym bag, my backpack, my coat, and a 30-minute walk ahead of me. And I was just like, all right, well, if I don't walk, I'm not going to get anywhere. If I don't keep moving forward, I'm not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. So true.
Very true.
It kind of leads me into my next question for, all of us. When do these transitions at some point in your life help you get through like periods of like life that you can call like childhood, teenage years, maybe young adulthood and adulthood in general? Is it the maturing that causes you to become one, classification of time to the next? Or is it more so that you've gone through some trial and, now you're here?
Do you mean, are you saying that it's like natural transitions or that there's like a specific event that...
Yeah. Is it a natural transition or is it more of a specific event?
I think, I want to say it's a little bit of both. I think that if it's an event that occurs, I feel like it accelerates the process. Because as we age and grow, our anatomy changes too. Like our brain starts developing differently. Well, it doesn't start, but it develops into, it evolves into its final form.
Yes, final form.
And as that's occurring, and like our bodies are changing, they're going through hormonal changes, the mind is creating different neural pathways and networks. So I think over time, if left untouched, we're eventually going to mature. But if there's like a critical life event or like a major life event, I think that accelerates the process. Kind of like in Eric's case, where if things played out and your father figure stuck around, you wouldn't have to take on that responsibility all of a sudden overnight.
Right.
He could kind of like lead you into it or show you stuff.
Basically, you should guide me into the way of becoming a man and moving into the adulthood. Yeah.
But since he left, then you were like, damn. It's like almost like this just weight was dropped onto you, and so now you were. How old were you when that happened?
I want to say it happened about 3 years ago, about like 3-ish years ago.
Yeah. So when you're still when you were in your early 20s, the people say 20s are like the high life of your life, and instead of being youthful and going out and having friends and stuff, you're like, damn, this weight was dropped on you. And you're like, shit, now I gotta carry this when I'm not even supposed to be carrying it right now.
Right. It was very hard at first. It was like, at first it was kind of just like I said, I was in that why stage, like why me, why is this happening to me, blah blah blah, and it was the grieving stage. And like after a while, like you have to stop, like in a way you have to just kind of like, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Life just happens. Just gotta keep moving on and make the best of it. Yeah. And so I did my absolute best, and here I am. My mom's happy with where I'm at right now. My brothers are happy where I'm at right now, and that's honestly a lot of pretty good feeling having that from them at least. Yeah. And yeah.
Well, I think I can speak for both of us. We're happy with where you're at too, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like knowing you for as long as time and hanging out with you in the past couple of years, I've definitely personally just seen a lot of growth and personal change in you, which is cool. It's awesome because, I mean, I want to have my own growth and personal change too, which I strive for all the time. I mean, that being said too, so in that moment, when you had to take on that responsibility, those emotions, and the acceptance. After that, did you find yourself feeling like an adult, or were you still like in childhood?
Honestly, I felt like I'm an adult after that whole thing happened, and after I like really got into the mix of everything. I was like, this is adulthood. These are problems that adults really face. This isn't really like a teenagers or like a young adults kind of like world anymore. This is more so like real life problems kind of thing. And like that, honestly, from that, I feel like that's what really like shot me straight ahead. And it was like, this is where you're at now. You have to live it. And like, honestly, I'm not too upset about it because I needed to grow up eventually, and like that kind of like sped up the process for me. But like at the same time, I'm happy it did because I'm in love with who I am now. I love who I am, where I am right now, and what I'm doing in life. It was a good push. It was a really good push for me, and I'm ecstatic with it.
So, I think I want to like touch on a little bit to defining adulthood a little bit.
Okay.
What do you think being an adult is, other than, you know, per se real life problems? You too, what do you think being an adult is? I mean, I personally think, yeah, being an adult is facing certain situations, being accountable for these situations, you know, taking responsibility. And I don't want to say that you kind of push away from the fact that like there's emotions involved with taking on more responsibility, but like you accept though not the burden, but the actual emotional burden that it kind of puts on you as an adult. You know, there are stressors, or what is that called? Like kind of managing
disparities, trials and tribulations.
Kind of, you know, kind of.
I would say trials and tribulations.
Kind of managing, or what is that called, man? It's like on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, maybe I'll come back to you.
But yeah, so what do you think, Lukasz?
Adulthood.
Yeah.
I want to. If you have something to say, I want to let you answer first.
No, you can go first.
I think it's I think adulthood has multiple facets, and when I think about it, if someone says like, "Oh, you're acting like a child," or if you're arguing with someone, or there's something happening, and someone says like, quit acting like a baby, or quit acting like a child, or grow up, it makes you wonder like, okay, well, if you're acting like a child in these situations, then how would an adult act? And I think a big component of adulthood is emotional intelligence, and what I mean by that is just being in touch with like how you're feeling and learning to control how you act, because kids throw tantrums, kids complain and whine and cry because they don't yet possess the communicative and social tools to express how they're feeling in a productive and constructive way, right? Like a baby doesn't know how to talk, so it's just gonna cry to have its diaper changed.
Right.
But when you're 30, 40, 50, even your later 20s, you're beyond that point. Like, we can speak and talk. And so I think emotional intelligence is a big component, and responsibility and kind of accountability, kind of what you were alluding to them, because no one else is gonna do things for you, and nothing in life is free. There's always
a cost.
There's always some sort of cost, whether it's time or money or emotions, whatever it may be. So you'll have to be, as an adult, you have to be ready to take on those costs. Yeah. And just be okay with them, and like, all right, this is it. I'm not gonna bitch and moan about it or take out my frustrations on anyone else. I gotta take this on myself.
I want to add to also for adulthood, I would also think like control, and where like what I mean by control is basically like where you put your emotion. Like let's say like something bad happens and you're just like whatever. As an adult, I feel like you would have more control as to like your emotions, where you put your attention to. Mm-hmm. So like let's say like It's not really a minor. I was gonna say like maybe.
Like a flat tire.
Maybe like a flat tire. So that you have a flat tire, it's a minor inconvenience, yes, and you don't dwell on it. But I feel like as an adult, you would like control your emotions to like, yes, it happened. It is what it is. Pay my dues and fix it. But then you also have all your other responsibilities, everything else that you have to still worry about. So you still have control of your emotions, everything. So like, of course, you have a flat tire. You're like, fuck, I don't like, why is this happening to me? Like, maybe I'm going to work and it's like, crap, I need to get to work, I'm gonna be late, blah, blah, blah. Control of your emotions, be like, it is what it is, I have to fix it, I guess gotta do it. Gotta fix it, and then still go to work and still control your emotions at work and not be like, pissed off at everybody else for something that happened, just be like, you just have to have control of your emotions and what you do. And that also goes for accountability, because then you also have to account for everything that you do. Happen to like, if you happen to freak out about something like, let's say flat tire, you go to work, customer is just like having a bad day and she just goes off on you, and you're just like, you know what, but like, I don't want to deal with this, I'm done. And like, but if when you have control of it, you're just like, it is what it is, I'm sorry that whatever your problem is happening, but how can I help you, blah blah. And basically just try the control of emotion is what really helps out with like the adulthood part, is what I think.
Being able to like mitigate your feelings, the problem and the solution, all at once.
Or just being responsible with your feelings too, because feeling angry or sad or happy, like these are all emotions we're born with. Like as humans, we can't escape these emotions, but learning to not take it out on innocent customers, or if someone's giving you a hard time, like don't dish it back out. You know, like learn that, okay, your flat tire is separate from a bad cashier at a store and a bad guest or a customer at your workplace and your, little kid throwing a tantrum. Like those are all independent, and you can't take one and dish it on the other, etc. Also positively, always be positive, spread that around.
Always gotta be positive. Always gotta be positive.
But
well, that kind of leads me into my next question too. Comparatively to being an adult, we are also males, right?
We are.
So I guess for every male, there's a right of trial. Like, I don't know what your right of trial has been to become a man, or what it even means to be a man, in the sense that, or do you learn from your father? Do you become a man when you're, 25, 30?
Do you become a man when you lose your virginity?
Do you become a man when you lose it? Do you become a man when you leave the crib?
When you have your first drink?
When you have your first drink, maybe your first child. So I kind of want to touch on that. I guess want to say you come from a two-parent family, right? Mm-hmm. I have one parent, and that's my mother, and then you had your father for a while,
right?
And then obviously your situation had changed. I think all our perspectives of what a man is are definitely defined by those experiences, for sure. But I kind of want to hash it out a little bit. Like, what do you think being a man is? And are you a man now? Like, are you a man right now? Are you on your way to being able to say, hey, I'm a man, I don't worry about anybody else's emotions towards me, or is that something that is involved with being a man? Like, these are just things I want to touch on. I mean, growing up, I think for me, I thought maybe being a man was being a provider. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, I saw a lot of my mom do a lot of the providing and nurturing to the extent that she could. But for me, it's like, if a man was there, a father was actually there,
you would have a role model to look off of. Yeah.
And I mean, there was a point in time where I had another father figure at some point, but having a father there, or having a figure there does that necessarily mean that you're going to learn how to become a man? You know. I from my personal experience, I feel like growing up, I just continuously begin to think that with the relationship from being an adult and being a man, you know, there's a lot more involved with it. And for me, I believe there's like 4 things. Right? There's financial stability, emotional stability, physical stability, and spiritual stability. You know, and you can't have one without the other, or one leads into the other. You know, and in that sense, for me, I feel like I'm still becoming a man, but I'm also in the early stages of my manhood. You know, what do you guys think?
I would like to agree with the financial, mental, physical, and then the spirituality. So like, for becoming a man, basically just got like, in my perspective, a man would be like you said, it is a provider, but also are teachers, because as a man, I want to say, like, you've already gone through like the trials and tribulations of basically being a kid, messing up, doing those crazy things that you did while you were a kid, and just having fun. But now that you're a man, you have to become an adult. You have to basically start taking accountability for your actions and things like that.
Yeah.
So I want to say, like, just like, for physical stability, just keeping your health right, like making sure your body's still up to date, like basically making sure that like it's still healthy, making sure it's still good. Mental, keep making sure that your head's on straight, and just like you're still in the mindset that you still want to keep moving forward, but you also have like a bunch of other responsibilities that you still have to incorporate into that. Spirituality, just making sure that you're like, basically like having good karma, just trying to be good to the world. What you give into the world is what you get back. 100%, I always believe that. Yeah. Whatever you give into the world, you get back. And so if you're a good person, sure, you'll have like those days that you're just like, man, today sucks. I'm beat, I'm done. And then there's days where you're just like, oh my God, I just had the best day ever. So many good things happened to me today. It is what it is. So I just feel like good karma is a very real thing, and like spirituality wise, it is good to basically give back to the world, give back to things that you were once, like, let's say like if you were once like let's say like if it was very hard for you to learn something way back then, and you see like your niece, your nephew just like having a hard time with learning something, basically just helping them out, basically just like trying to get them to learn more things and just like
help them not to struggle,
right? And like
pushing the next generation with
right,
pride.
And you should always push the next generation to be better, because that's when we're gone, they're left. That's literally that's all the world has left. So like if we put all of our intuition, all of our like efforts into the next generation, the results are really endless, like really endless. They can literally launch the world to, like, as of right now, the world is literally completely different right now. Like, there's so many new things in the world that 20 years ago, we would never thought if it happened. Never. Like, for one, the vice president's a female.
That's true. That is so
20 years ago, that was never even a thought. Nobody ever thought about that. Now it's a new thing. And, like, that's awesome. Like, things are progressing, things are innovating, and honestly, that's just really good.
Social progression has come a long way.
It has.
So what does it mean to be a man?
So what does it mean to be a man?
Oh, sorry, I kind of just went off.
No, you're good. You're good.
Don't even trip.
I'm so sorry.
That's how we like to do it on the T10 podcast, and you just keep it fresh, and whatever comes off the dome, you just speak your mind.
Eggnog edition. Just had to put that in there.
But
so sorry.
what does it mean to be a man? I think now with the social progression, I think it has kind of changed the lay of the land, so to speak. And back then you had these traditional stereotypical gender roles that people were pushed into, and I think now those boundaries and those lines are being grayed, if not erased completely. And so now it's not just the man that's the provider, because women are just as equally providers, if not more so for some people. Like in your case, your mom's the only provider, right? And so I don't think that really has anything to, like, you're not a man just because you're providing for someone, or just because you had a family, or because you built a home. Because if you think about it too, if you look at a CEO, right, just like plain, just average guy, right, average height, average build, nothing crazy, but he's a CEO of a big international corporation, right? And he's confident, he presents himself well. People would be like, yeah, he's a man. But then if you look at a construction worker who's making, a fraction of what the CEO is making, but he's like a big burly dude, going off stereotypes, big burly beard, shaved head.
Grizzly man.
Yeah, grizzly man. See, and you said man, right? Because people would describe that kind of person also as a man. But physically, other than like their sex, they're kind of different. Because like they have different builds, different jobs, different levels of income, different responsibilities, but people would still see them as men, right? But in that case, it begs the question, what is a man? And that's what obviously you just asked. And I think it has more to do with character than anything else. And I think it ties into that whole emotional intelligence and keeping your head on your shoulders and not letting things get to you. I disagree with I don't like how people say like, oh, you're a man, you gotta tough it out and you don't feel anything. Because that's just negative, like toxic masculinity. That's just, it's not cool. Like, guys should be able to express their emotions, whatever they are, with whomever they would like to.
Yeah.
But when I think of a man, to me, maybe it's because we're from the generation we are and we're in the time period of life that we're in. But I think being a man is more being an adult, has more with being an adult and the characteristics we described earlier than the physical, biological sex that you're born with.
Yeah.
Now, one stipulation I will add is that as females and males are different from each other biologically, and their bodies develop differently, their minds develop differently, their hormones are different, and so they have preset functions that they're just born with that you can't really overcome, because it's just biology, right? That's how Mother Nature produced us. But beyond that, I think it's just more of being an adult than being a woman or a man. Because then you could ask, like, well, what does it mean to be a woman?
So, I guess saying that, like, should there be a gray area? Should there be defined, like, roles of the sex? Like, not so much that, hey, you're a male, be a man, not so much that, but like, you are going to continue to be a male. Unless you decide to feel some other way. I'm just throwing that out there. But, you're going to continue to be a male, right?
Yeah.
But, becoming an adult is also different from being a man too. You know what I'm saying? That's me personally. I think they come together in certain aspects, but I think, like, if you're a man, you should be able to provide for yourself and for others. I personally don't think that I believe I'm on my way to being a full-fledged man, if that's, how I'm going to put the definition of it, right? Because for me, it's the four things, fiscal, independence, or financial independence, which I sort of am, but
I mean, you do because you have a full-time job. You're getting paid. Like you.
yeah,
You're an adult.
I have an adult,
Job.
work life job. My emotional intelligence is there. I'm empathetic, sympathetic, and I can understand other people's struggles and or happinesses. And what is it? Spiritual and physicality. Like, I work out, I maintain my health. Spiritually, at this moment in my life, I believe spiritually, I'm lacking. That's just me. But that's something that I want to address, And all four of those categories, I believe, lead you to be a man in which, let's say you want to have a romantic relationship, would you right now, all right, in each of your own definition of being a man, would you right now be able to say that, hey, I'm ready for like a romantic relationship because I'm an adult, right? But I'm also a man that's an adult, And that's kind of where I'm going with that more so. Like, should there be a gray area? Because then at what point can you really define that you're an adult? If you're not fully well-rounded,
I want to answer your question with the relationship and being a man and stuff. I think, and I wanted to rephrase it. I don't think you being in a relationship makes you more of a man or less of a man.
Of course.
I
don't think so either.
I think that, do I feel man enough to be in a romantic relationship, or being in a romantic relationship, would it make me feel more manly? No, I think I'm not ready for one, just because I'm not at that point where I do want to start just settling down. I think life's too short to just settle for things here and there. But do I feel mature enough to be able to sustain a romantic relationship with just one partner for the rest of my life? Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd be able to communicate and express my needs and wants, but also be open to my girlfriend or wife's needs and wants, and meet them as well.
Yeah. But like I said, but in that very same respect, I'm sure you are there mentally, emotionally, right? But I do believe there's more aspects to it, to maintaining that. You know what I'm saying?
Financially, it'd be a struggle.
So it's like, are you there? You know what I'm saying? Like, for me, it's like I don't have my own place like that. I'm personally, I don't want to say that I'm there. I not find it embarrassing, but that's my situation. That's my situation. I'm not completely where I want to be quite yet. I'm gonna be there, but I don't think that makes me more or less of a man. I just, like I said, are you a man? Yeah. Are you a man now, or will you be a man? Through our conversation is what is defining you to be a male adult. If it's more so like that it's not more of like a sex kind of thing.
For me, yeah, I think I am a man because I was born male. Like, I'm male, man.
Yeah.
Because of that. Other than that, it's just how much of an adult am I, And I would think that, yeah, I see myself, I am an adult. I'm able to handle responsibilities and be an adult in all the stereotypical ways that one would describe it.
Eric, what do you think? How are you feeling over there?
I'm over here just thinking, like, everything just right to my head. Like, for like you said, like, it doesn't make you any more or less or more of a man doing that. But do you want to ask the question one more time?
So my thing is this, okay? for me, there are certain check marks that I have to go through. Right. To say that, yeah, I've hit milestones to becoming more of an adult, and in that sense. But for me, I would call it becoming a man. More so because I'm looking towards like having a family, having a home. I guess settling down, but would I be able to settle down? Is a man capable of settling down? Is an adult capable of settling down? I know plenty of people that are dudes that aren't adults, that are big ass grown boys. Yeah, and on the opposite respect, that's some grown ass girls too. You know what I'm saying? So, in that sense, like, you can be grown and an adult legitimately.
Yeah.
But that 100%. Doesn't mean that you are
a man or
a woman. Yeah. In that kind of defined sense. I want to say yes, because I kind of like agree to the point where society has pushed kind of a lot of the idealistic kind of standards for that. So I kind of agree with you in that point. But are they necessary, or is it? I feel like where would that leave us if those standards aren't there? Where do you foresee you? Is it gonna be this turbulence of a person where you define, not being 100% financially stable, okay, emotionally unstable, okay, physically unhealthy, okay, but you have certain other aspects, one part of adulthood is, cool. But what if you're lacking something else? Are you a whole adult? I mean, we're always learning, nonetheless. We're always learning. And I think that's another aspect to the capacity to continue to learn. I'd left that out, but I think as we keep talking about this, like, there's more to a lot of the social standards and then a lot of your own personal standards too.
To go off of that, so like, I would like to say, so two things that you could really like. So on those four things that you're saying, for physical and financial, for being a man or an adult, I wouldn't say you have to be 100% there, because those are things that you can grow or you can drop. Those are things they're variables,
and it depends on like what standard of life you want to. Yeah, so you can live in a van and still be a man, or you can live in the biggest house on the planet
and still be a man. But I feel like the mentality and the spirituality parts of your four things are what really drive you to be where you are, like where you want to be.
The standard of yourself is.
Yeah, because like those things are things that, like, of course, like, it's basically like morals, like basically your morals of your life and like what you want to do, what you stand by. And I feel like those are things that you always keep at high regard, things like that. But like for physical and for like financial, you can work out, you can make yourself healthy, you can eat better. Financially, you can find a better job, go to school, get a better job,
or downgrade jobs on purpose.
Right. So like I feel like those are just like, they're variables, but like the two things that really matter that drive the whole adulthood part are the spirituality and mentality, because that's what really, it's what gets because honestly, your brain is what controls your whole body. Yeah. So if your brain's not 100% there, your physical body's not gonna be 100% there. Yeah. So that's my take on it.
I like that. That's a really good point to bring up. I guess to a certain extent, I didn't think of it more so as financial and physical as variables. They're just goals that personally should be met. But yeah, they're nonetheless variables. Your health is going to change throughout your life. Your financial stability is going to change throughout your life. But do you need to have defined standards for those facets? You know what I'm saying? Do you want to live in a mode where you're at this level of financial stability and you're okay with that? Is that settling, low key? Is that settling? Is it like, I'm gonna be skinny but not like super swole, or like I'm gonna be super swole I'm not gonna be able to swim in a pool or something because of how heavy I am.
You dense.
Just sink.
I'm just so dense, like, you know.
I mean, I guess it's. I'm happy you flipped it back on me with the whole settling thing because I think it just goes back to like the point of standard of living. So I guess I said I don't like to settle, but I guess that's just the standard of life that I want to be at, where I'm not settling in certain aspects of my life, you know, like with house, job, or working out. I'm fine with physically the way I am. Like I run, I work out, but my goal isn't to be
swole.
Yeah,
sink in the pool.
I just want to be fit
Yeah.
and healthy. And am I settling for that? Yes, but only because I'm happy with that. And
because that's your standard.
If I got more swole, my happiness wouldn't increase proportionally. If anything, my happiness would decrease because I'm investing more time in something that that doesn't interest me as much compared to something else that interests me a lot more. Right?
Yeah.
So I think you've got to give and take because at the end of the day, the most limiting resource we have is time.
So, okay, that being said, right? Time, right?
100%. I agree with
So,
that.
I just want to like give clear-cut kind of definitions of it, you know? Mine, like I said, was spiritual, financial, physical, and then, well, what else did I say? Physical? Yeah.
Physical, financial, spiritual, mental.
Mental. So, those things. And by mental, I mean emotional.
Yeah.
In the
Right.
sense of that. So that's what I kind of define manhood as. For a clear-cut definition of each and every one of ours, that's where I'm putting mine. Where would you say yours is?
Mine?
Yeah, and then, you know, go ahead, Eric, let us know.
Definition of manliness?
It's hard because the problem is like everyone does have their different definitions.
Exactly.
And like, do you want to cater to the stereotypes or go off of what you think?
And that's to be said, you know.
And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, like, so basically, like, I would like to go off like what you said before. Basically, you have to become like a provider slash teacher slash. Yeah, but
like a role model.
Yeah, like a role model, basically, because like, if you're a man, I feel like people when you have that stereotypical man part, people not look up to you, but they look at what you do. They look at how you act, how you perform, like how you
move, and everything.
Your every movement is being watched. Like basically, for example, like I heard this in like a movie. Basically, like no matter what you do, this is a woman talking to a man, like a wife and a husband. No matter what you do, always do good because you never know who's watching you. And like in that aspect, it was like the child watching his father. But like in any aspect, anybody could be watching you, and they could be just like learning off the things that you do, trying to be better persons of themselves, learning off the things that you do. So
what I'm getting from you kind of more so is like to be a model for others, you know, a model for others, whether that be yourself, like a mentor or like a teacher, and you know, kind of going back to the spirituality part that you kind of maintained, that was a definite importance to being a man and a provider. So so what I'm getting is, you know, mentor, provider, and you know, spiritual man, you know?
right.
So those are the three things that I got from you, like just listening.
Hey, yeah.
Is that what you would say, that like clear cut kind of like you kind of follow, or you follow, you know?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
You basically, to sum it all up, basically those three things, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. I think that kind of goes similar to the point where I made, because most of the things both you describe, has nothing to do with our bodies, but with our character and how we live our lives, right? And that's what makes you a man. But I think I like the role model spin on it was really good, because I think at the end of the day, part, I believe that as a responsibility of adults is to care, nurture, and help the next generations grow to become also good adults. And regardless if you're strangers or not strangers, you know, kids look around at all types of adults, and even if they don't know you, they're gonna see, you know, they can see one guy just being reckless and drunk in the streets and, you know, destroying things and throwing trash, and then they can see another individual that's well dressed and groomed, takes care of themselves, but, you know, is responsible, throws out their trash and goes to work and is a provider, or what, it just, you know, all things adult. And I think a responsibility for people is to be positive role models, and they can do that through achieving all these different facets of stability, and at the end of the day just being mature with their emotions and not being childish, you know, just saying, okay, like, grit your teeth, don't compartmentalize or discard your emotions, but learn how to cope with them, how to use them positively, or how to healthily express them, or just move on with life and contribute positively into, you know, society and etc., and just move on.
Well, I think I like what I heard today. I mean, it's a big topic. Honestly, it's just constantly it's constantly changing. You know, ideal.
Right.
I think society, like, you know, continually taking steps to equalize and even out what we're all capable and allowed to do helps blur those stereotypes. Maybe not even blur, but it like demystifies them, or kind of I'm liking the word, but if the stereotypes are myths, it's like it's busting these myths open, that, like, you know what, you really don't have to be only a man to be a CEO. And you don't only have to be a woman to be caring and compassionate
or nurturing of the sort.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
of course. Well, Eric, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time having a conversation, basically learning your definitions and what your views on everything of like spirituality and just adulthood and being a man.
Yeah. We're honored and, you know, happy that we had this opportunity to catch up again.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed the episode. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what your definitions are.
If you have any questions or concerns, we do have an email. I will put it in the description that you can send us just questions. Other than that, happy holidays.
Happy New Year. Stay safe.
Have a good one. Stay healthy, please. Please stay healthy in this trying times.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody next year.
Peace out.
Have a good one.
イタチ、最後に約束しろ。
分かってるわ。
Oh, my butt!
That's going in there too.